So, hey, friends, thanks for joining us today. This is what we call our cutting room floor podcast, where Christian and I kind of sit and talk about the Sunday message and kind of give you additional content and get back and forth about the topic that we have. So, as we have for every week, as we have gone through this supernatural series, I have with me Dr. Christian Nichles. Should I
Yeah.
put that like on the
No,
little title?
no.
But
Christian's fine.
hey, there had to be a point in your life when you put that much effort into an education. Was there a point in your life where you made everybody call you Dr. Christian Nichles, like a day, a week, a month, a year? Like, was there some point you're like, hey, it's Dr.
No,
Nichles?
not really. Obviously, I'm proud of my education, like you should be if you have the privilege of having one. It's an honor to have had that kind of education, but now I may use it in like academic settings or if I'm writing a paper or, something kind of official. Um, but no, I just want people calling me Christian. It's fine. Or C. I've been called C the majority of my life. And so I answer to either Christian or C or hey you or the guy in the Columbia shirt or whatever.
So when we have for those of you that don't know, Chris and I have a pretty healthy group of friends and a big group chat. So whenever you tell us that, hey, we should go do something, like we won't talk about all the some things that we tell each other we should go do, and then you're like doctor's orders, then that doesn't count.
Yeah, well, that counts because that's a different setting. Um, I always like anytime the reason why I don't really want to be called doctor, really, it's because I've been humbled. I remember when I graduated and got my regalia and was deemed knighted Sir Doctor Christian Nichles or whatever. I remember my dad looked at me and was like, "Don't expect me to call you doctor." Um, and then my kids throughout the years, when something comes up, it's like, "Oh yeah, Christian has a doctorate. He's Doctor Christian Nichles." My kids always go, "Yeah, but not that kind of doctor." So
Oh, they're
I've been
quick
humbled.
to
It's
let
fine.
everybody know. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, he's no. He can't look at your foot or something. Don't. No. He
Like
can
you
he
would
can
be
help you in your human
a
growth and development. That's
A
about it.
foot doctor. Oh, that I won't say anything. We might have some foot doctors that watch this. I'm like, it seems like the
Hey,
worst kind of.
trust me. It. Have you ever gone to one? It's a lucrative career.
I get it, but like people have some nasty feet and toes and stuff. And I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I guess you wear
Speaking of the
gloves.
spiritual realm, there's some very unspiritual feet out there. I guarantee it. Ooh.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, we probably actually should get to something somewhat serious. So, if you missed it on Sunday, we talked about the idea of that we live in this unseen realm, but in the backside of the unseen realm is heaven. God, he says that he is the host of angel armies. They are fighting for you. And so in it, I kind of talked about a week, one of those weeks where just things happen over and over, and you can go back and watch that message, but it was one of those where something um, was, if it was going to go wrong, it went wrong. Hey, Christian, you ever had a season, a week, a month, a year, where it feels that way?
I can with 100% honesty say absolutely. The
Yeah.
last about 27 months of my life have been that way. Uh, been pretty wild, and particularly the last 12 to 14. But yeah, I get it. Like just stuff piles on. That phrase, "When it rains, it pours." It just feels like in the world that we live in, and with what's going on, it's like, man, this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. I just can't catch a break. I hear that
Yeah.
phrase a lot. So yeah, I think we've all experienced seasons or situations like that.
Yeah. Even this week, it wasn't nearly as bad as, as the week that I described before. But you kind of get to this place where things you just know that there are certain people in certain situations like, man, when I see their number pop up and they're calling me, they're not texting me, they're calling me. I'm like, oh boy. I mean, here we go. Because
Yeah.
this person only calls me when things are falling apart, and usually it's not just things falling apart, things that are going to affect me.
Yeah.
uh,
Every time.
like falling apart, and yeah, I've had a couple of those calls, even this week, and you're like, like no, like it's been a good streak, Lord, like things
Yeah.
have been
Yeah. It's
good
been a
for.
good 8 hours.
I'm not ready with this. And so I'm sure anybody watching us, you've had those guys. And what we're talking about is it doesn't have to be a massive thing. I mean, sometimes it is. Sometimes it begins to be a really massive thing, like loss of a job or a big health crisis or something like that. But what it is it's the next thing that piles on that, and then the next thing and the next thing. Like when I was describing the lawnmower breaking, and then it's the vet bill, and then it's, oh my God, the car's got to go into the shop, and it just on and on and on. And a lot of those were just financial related, right? They come sometimes they come in themes like it's time related, like boom, 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 all these things just take
Mhm.
away from your time. And then you go through a season where all these attacks seem to be financially related. It's like, man, I like just get an unexpected bill. And while that one bill for $100 would have been no big deal, well, when it's the ninth unexpected financial thing that has happened, and now you're $3,000 behind the eight ball for this month, that $100 is a very, very big deal. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about, guys. And I think what I would say, and I said this in the message, is not everything that's bad that happens to us is the enemy. I want us to have a healthy balance. It's not everything that's bad is the enemy. It can just be a circumstance. But here's what I've learned. When you start having the kind of week or a season that I'm talking about, where it's one thing after the next thing, and then it's the next thing, and then it's the next thing, what I've learned in life is that typically is the enemy. Like when you can chain that many similar kinds of things together in a period of time, whatever you want to define it as, I I think most of the time that is the enemy at work, um, trying to do something in your life. And Christian, if you were to take a guess and let you get, I don't really have an answer. It's in like guess, and I'm going to tell you the right answer. What do you think the enemy's goal is with
Yeah.
doing these things? Just boom, 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 boom.
Yeah. Well, the scriptures tell us really clearly the enemy's game plan. The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Steal, kill, and destroy. Jesus told that's straight from Jesus. And he created them, so he knows, and he's been watching them. He knows what they're doing. And so if you think about that, when those things begin to pile up, normally what happens, the normal human response is, what have I done? What am I not doing right? Or, oh no, I've done wrong stuff, so I deserve this, or whatever. Like the human mind begins to think about things. And so the enemy's plan is the enemy knows that, without God's permission, there's not a lot that he can do to us, but he does have permission to throw stuff out there at us. And that's when we get to the armor that we'll talk more about that concept. But I think foundationally, just to understand that the enemy's goal is to steal, kill, and destroy. Still, let's just take those categories you gave, whether it's these things happen and it's just taking your time, or it's taking your money, or so he just wants to steal your time, right? He wants to, or maybe he wants to steal your sense of purpose, or maybe he wants to, steal your joy, right? Which he can't really steal your joy. Humans think, oh, he can take my joy. No, we give it to him. We hand it over to him. But kill.
That's a
You know,
really good point right there, because he can take
yeah,
a whole lot of things, but joy Joy,
Can't take it.
joy and peace.
It's a
He
fruit
can't
of the
take your
Spirit.
peace either.
It's a
Yeah,
fruit of the Spirit.
yeah,
He
yeah.
can't take any fruit of the Spirit.
Yeah, you got to
Period. He
surrender
cannot
that.
take it.
Mm-hmm.
But he knows us, like, the enemy, that their whole band of brothers there, they have for centuries and centuries watched us. And again, in my profession, even, um, you know, we were talking about my education. So my doctorate's in human growth and development. And so basically, I've studied human behavior. And can I just tell you that human behavior is very predictable? And if I can, if this guy can go, okay, this is human behavior and it's predictable, imagine what a supernatural, semi divine being knows and can do with our normal tendencies and habits. But yeah, the end of the day, their plan is simple: steal, kill, destroy.
Yeah, and have we mentioned and talked at all about I we have so many conversations, even you and I jointly together with different people. I don't remember where we've said things. But C.S. Lewis's book, The Screw Tape Letters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just let me throw in a plug for that book or something. Because what you just said about understanding human thinking and human activity and how we respond. I believe C.S. Lewis got some divine insight into the spiritual world when he wrote that book. If you're not familiar with the book, it's a book basically a more advanced ranked demon is training a younger demon. I can't remember if they're related. I think one's the uncle or a nephew. There's some
Yeah,
there's
Uncle
some sort of
Screwtape and Wormwood.
that's it. Yep. Wormwood is the little guy. And so he's training him on how to negatively influence, in other words, steal, kill, and destroy the human that's been assigned to him. And so the whole letter or the book are these letters, okay, because C.S. Lewis existed before there was email, that
Yep.
each are
They're not
writing back.
texting.
Yeah, they're not texting back. Yeah, the book could have happened much faster via texting. Like they're going back and forth between each other, and they're describing all the different temptations you can do or thoughts that you can seed in their head. And then the little guy reports back and says, hey, that worked. Or, so guys, if you want insights into possibly what's going on in your world, you should pick up the book and read it. That's all I want to say about that.
Well,
But yeah,
yeah. So not just screw tape letters. Like, if this whole series, when I preached on the Divine Council, I mentioned C.S. Lewis's. Really, a lot of people don't even know these books exist. They just know like screw tape letters or Chronicles of Narnia. But he wrote it's called the Space Trilogy,
oh
and
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
3-book set, and it literally talks about the Deuteronomy 32 worldview, that there are these different planets and these, semi-divine beings are running these planets kind of things. And the whole thing is, it's literally the meta narrative of what we've been calling Act Two,
Mhm.
in God's story. Act One is God Himself. Act Two, God creates the unseen world. Act Three, God creates the temporal or the seen world. And then Act Four, Jesus makes all things new. And so, yeah, that's, if you want to read, if you're not a reader, okay, I'll give you one. I probably shouldn't, right? I shouldn't say, but there is a movie from the late 90s, maybe early 2000s. I can't remember. But if you want to see how evil works in the world, there's a movie with Keanu Reeves called Devil's Advocate.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Not a good movie, by the way. Right? Let me say that. Not a good movie. But if you just, I don't read. I'm not a reader. I'm not. You watch that movie, and at the end of it, you're like, oh, wow. I had no idea that the enemy had his hand in this and this and this and this and this in my world. So anyway, yeah, again, I would prefer you read the screw tape letters, but if you're not a
No,
reader, watch that movie. You'll
the
see.
thing about that movie, I think
I think Al
the reason
Pacino's in
it's
it too.
so unsettling, I think when you're saying bad movie, it's just unsettling, and I think it's unsettling
Well, it's got
because
some.
we don't want it to
It's
be
got
true.
some. It's got some R-rated stuff in it, so be careful.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. So my
Again,
my brain forgets sometimes
I'm
we're sitting down to watch a movie,
I,
and you're like,
yeah,
"Oh, yeah, got that scene is in there."
I'm not advocating for people to watch the movie. All right, I'm just saying.
Yeah, but the storyline of that movie, you don't wanna think that one through. And I tell you, it's hard to not watch that movie and think, how many people in 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 our culture have made these agreements? And well, if it to give you, like, whether you watch the movie or not, we're not gonna ruin it for you. He destroys Keanu Reeves' life in a
Mhm.
way that Keanu never saw coming. Like,
Yep.
it is where the enemy understands the rules better than you understand the rules, and he's an attorney in this. It's like they're
Right.
so
Keanu
he
Reeves' character gets everything he's ever dreamed of handed to him. Like everything he's ever dreamed of is handed to him, but it's with a price, and that's the way the enemy works.
yeah, and it destroys everything around him. And, the most important thing being his relationship, and it just you sit and you go, yeah, still, kill, destroy. And I meet so many other believers that when we talk, yeah, 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 but you don't act like Jesus, what he said was true. Um, so if that thing over there is that the objective is to steal from me, to kill things in my life, and to destroy me and all the things in my life,
Kill
why
the
would I?
good things in your life,
Yeah.
right?
What,
Kill the spirit in you, kill the passion in you, kill yeah,
yeah.
it's not
If that is true, then
it doesn't kill
why
the
would I
sin.
play with it? Why would I play with
Well,
it? And I'm putting me in the category. I'm not saying that
I know,
I'm
I do too.
above doing it, but I will catch
Absolutely.
myself. I mean, thankfully, God, thank you. I do catch myself and I go, wait a minute. The the ultimate goal of this is to steal, to kill, and destroy things inside of
Yeah.
me.
Yep.
And I'm coming around to that right now. And in a way, I'm not preaching a message about social media or anything this Sunday, but one of the illustrations I'm using really is how many times I have almost like come up for air out of a doom scrolling session. And I have this real, like, this thing's killing me.
Yeah.
Like,
You
it
feel
is
terrible.
stealing my time at a minimum, stealing my time, but it's killing me. And, it's we're learning how it's destroying things in us by all of these dopamine hits and what it's doing to our brains in the chemistries in our
I
brains.
I read I read a study, I think it was a week ago. I read a study that Americans, this was not worldwide, but I bet it's pretty close still in any advanced country, developed country, that we spend 3 times the amount of time that on the toilet than we did 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And and I know that's maybe a little bit of TMI for people, but the point is that it's not because we're going to the bathroom more.
Yeah, it's our quiet space, and we take our phone in there.
We do scroll,
Mhm.
right? And it's like,
In our
"Oh, we're
family,
wasting time at work."
we had a child that would spend an unusual amount of time with that, and when they got into their teenage years, and they were a big YouTuber, so we just called it, "Are you in there poop tubing?"
Yes. Yes. It happens. Or TikTok
Yeah,
poop
like,
tick pooping or whatever.
I
TikTok, man, that's mine. TikTok is my, like, because I get on a roll with some funny videos. If you give me, like, funny Cajun people, right? Because my wife's Cajun, and I love Cajun people, and the culture's so rich, I love it. So give me funny Cajun people, food stuff, right? I
yeah,
wanna see,
I'll doom scroll
and
food
then
forever.
sports. You all of a sudden your algorithm will link up. And again, this is another way. I'm telling you, the enemy understands technology. Technology probably had its source and root for the human experience from the unseen realm. We probably learn some of the technologies throughout the centuries, like how to do that from beings and systems that are far superior to us. And so don't think that the enemy doesn't know your scrolling habits and then algorithms you and just gets you in a deeper hole and takes more of your time, takes more of your thoughts, makes you feel worse about yourself. Like it's a real
Yeah,
thing. It really
man,
is.
I have said forever, if we could go back in time and for all that these I I love my device. I still love my Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, but I
There
love
you
my
go.
device. Um,
Are they still undefeated?
no, they lost miserably to my son's alma mater, to NC State. They
Yeah, I
got
know. I know. Sorry. I had to do that. My bad.
I look, no, I I knew there was no way we were gonna go undefeated. I did not want it to be NC State because now I got to hear from it at Thanksgiving from my son.
Hey,
And
listen, this week is important. It's a house divided. LSU and Bama play this Saturday, and that's
oh,
always like I don't eat gumbo. I don't eat any Cajun food that week. I I try not even to give Miss Emily a kiss except for on the cheek. Like we got to protect that game at all cost.
like yeah, because it's funny how we can get superstitious because that'll affect the game.
I'm not superstitious. I'm a little stitious. Michael Scott.
A, a little stitious, I like it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, if you guys watch that Tech game, number one, you wouldn't be able to watch it if you had YouTube TV, which is what I have, and fortunately, I
Again,
didn't
the enemy at
watch.
work.
Yeah, I
The
did
enemy at
not
work.
watch that game happen because we just had no defense. But anyway, as much as I love these devices, if I could go back in time and there was something I could do to prevent mobile technology from happening, I
Mhm.
think I would like to be able to be called. So
Yeah.
I'm talking specifically about a smartphone. If I
Yeah.
could go back in time to prevent a smartphone from happening, I would do it. Even though that would mean, okay, I can't get instant text and I can't see my email and all those things. I'm old enough to remember when we didn't have those things, and I would
Yep.
go back in a heartbeat. Like we did
I
not know
tell
what
people all the
we had.
time, if there was social media when I was a teenager, one, I'd be in jail or dead. Two, my parents probably killed me. Or three, I would be, I don't know, I'd probably be homeless or something. I'm not sure.
Well,
Like,
many
it
of
would
us
not
would
have been good.
probably be unemployed. We were like, we just saw this thing.
Yeah, you
on
remember that homecoming night when you were 15, Christian? Yeah, we saw that video. Oh, great. And that's the thing. Again,
yeah.
steal, kill, and destroy. We're not very patient, but the enemy, they have until Jesus comes back and takes care of everything, right? Like they know that, hey, I got the long game here. And if I can get you, and this is what I try to when I was a student pastor, when I was a student pastor, and I'm not a guy that's against phones, okay? Like I was never, even in student ministry, I never was like, take your phones. I never, because I think you can leverage them for good. But I remember telling parents would come to me and go, should I, my kid's 12 and they're starting to be at practice a little more. And I want to be able to get a hold of them because listen, schools are right. Like we're scared to send our kids to school sometimes. And like, I just want them to be able to get a hold of me and I want to be able to get a hold of them, which again, if you dig into that statement right there, kids that young getting phones is typically a parent issue, not a kid issue, but the kids are under a lot of pressure to have one. And I tell them, I'm like, if you cannot have your kid on a phone until they're 14, 15, 16 years old, please do it. Please do it for their own mental health. I mean, the studies that are coming out right now about how, social media interaction affects the human brain and the spike in anxiety and depression, like this isn't anecdotal research. This is proven, like this is happening. And so, yeah, I think the enemy uses that to steal, kill, and destroy. Now, does that mean don't use no, like use it for good. You use it, but as we'll talk about here now, I'm sure you put on the armor, and putting on the armor isn't just something that you do just for yourself, right? Like you can put armor on your phone, you can put armor on your marriage, you can put armor on your parenting, your kids, your family, your job.
Yeah.
There's all ways to do that. That's why Paul wrote that. It's so practical that it applies, right? Like Paul wasn't literally saying, get up and put on a, helmet. And
Yeah.
the dude is sitting in a Roman prison. He's sitting there and he's dictating this letter to somebody, right? Maybe Luke, maybe Timothy, we're not sure. And they're writing this thing down because he's in chains. He can't write. And he's looking at a Roman soldier that's standing right outside his prison cell. And he goes, how can I describe how we fight this spiritual battle? And he's looking and he goes, that's an example I can use. They'll understand what I'm saying. And so that's when you get the metaphorical language that Paul's talking about. And so, yeah, that steal, kill, and destroy. We have an unseen enemy that works in unseen ways, but we have seen and unseen ways to not only protect, but to combat the way that the enemy is moving in our world and our lives.
Yeah. So let's jump into this a little bit, because I know when I grew up in church, left for a little while, but pretty much have lived my whole life in church. And so when Sunday school lessons or when the pastor would preach a message about the armor of God, it there was never any like, well, how do you do that? Or what do you do? And so here, let's walk through. I don't know that we'll go through every piece here, but if I were to walk through a couple examples of this. So one of the first things you mentioned is this belt of truth. All right, forget the idea of a belt. Like, I think some people, I love how you just said it. Some people get lost in the armor component. It's a belt. I'm like, no,
Right.
Paul's just looking around looking at things. The important thing is truth. Put on truth. Put on truth. So what does that, how does that play out
Well,
in
what does
this
a
world?
belt do?
Well, it holds things up, I guess. I don't know.
It holds
I,
things in
I can tell you
place.
what it does for me. It cuts into my belly when I'm sitting
Yeah,
back.
well, yeah, me too. Me too. But yeah, but you think about, yeah, it is truth, but a belt is to hold something in place or to hold up. And when you think about the concept of truth holding you in place, when you're in a season of being steal, kill, and destroyed, like if that's what's coming at you every single day, you need to be able to stand up. And the truth, which again, that's a whole thing in our world, right? Like, what is truth? Who is truth? Which that's not a new thing in our world. It's been around forever. And so, yeah, this belt of truth. It's don't get lost in the belt part, but understand the metaphor that Paul is saying, and it's like, okay, this is what's going to hold you when your world is falling apart.
Yeah.
This is
And
what's
and
going to hold
so
in place.
if I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about anxiety, because we live in an anxious generation.
Mhm.
And what is anxiety? Well, anxiety is a hyper focus on what could go wrong or is going wrong. Right? That is what
Yeah.
anxiety is. Usually it's something has gone wrong, and now you are hyper focused on the 78 other scenarios that could play out, and your brain just can't stop either trying to solve them, fix them, or just worry about them. And so anxiety comes in. When you're really, really anxious, the armor piece that you need is truth. And you need to be able to, I find this one, you can do it alone, but it's also best done with other people around you. Someone comes around you and begins to point out what is not true, and
Yeah.
then just as importantly says, this is what is true. And okay, it is true. Let's take a common scenario. It is true you were laid off from your job. That is true. What is not true are all these other things that I can see and you have expressed, and maybe, hey, tell me about what some of those things are. This is what a good counselor would tell me about, and then go, like 99 out of 100 of those are not true. Like that's like I'm always going to be unemployed. I'm never going to be able to find another job. Like my kids are going to leave. The dog's going to walk out on me. Like that's not true. Like
Yeah.
your dog loves you. Your kids love you. They're always going to be like, and bringing you back to truth. And then, obviously we're spiritual people. What is true about God? Well, God knows your situation. God knows your
Right.
scenario. He's not going to leave you hanging either.
Yep.
And like you were saying, it becomes that thing that holds you up. So that would be one of the primary components when you're battling anxiety, is to get to what is true and what's not. What are those lies? Back to what we keep saying. What's the goal of the lies? Steal, kill, and destroy.
Yep.
That's what those are. So when we're talking about the armor of God, that's an example that I had in mind. Like, oh, okay, this is what is true. Paul
Right.
goes on to talk about breastplate of righteousness. I love how the New Living
Mm-hmm.
Translation calls it body armor.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can relate to that. And when I was thinking about that, I was thinking we have a lot of young parents at Next Level Church, and what it means when
Shout
you
out.
say, yeah, shout out to our kids department. I was just in a staff meeting. They're coming up with what their actual needs are. We have real big needs in additional help that's needed, especially in the preschool nursery building. We've got a lot of young parents that are coming.
Lots of babies and kids.
Right. And so there's this pressure to feel like you've got to be the perfect parent. And I'm putting it in terms of righteousness. Like we feel like God is perfect, and he puts that perfection on us. He puts his righteousness on us. You can put on God's righteousness, and with that comes a measure of grace from him. And you can give yourself grace as a parent, okay? Because like God's given it to you, you can give it to yourself. And just the load that can come off of that, you don't have to be Instagram perfect. I find it, there's this weird phenomena, because we have a generation who grew up with phones, where they watch every event through their phone because they're taking pictures or recording, so they're sitting here and they miss the event. I'm like,
Yep.
there's so much, like your screen sees this much. There's all this stuff. And I get it. I'm on the other side too. I get to the end event. I didn't take pictures or record anything because I was just, and then my brain forgets
Right.
the,
And
so
then people are like, why didn't you record part of it? Why didn't you send me a picture? Why didn't you? Well, because I was enjoying it.
yeah,
That's why.
right. I'm like, just really enjoying this time.
What I adopted this little phrase, I don't know, 8, 9 years ago. And particularly when I was pastoring, I would always say, do not compare your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's what they're putting on all those socials. It's their highlight reel. It's what's going good. It's what now I get it. Vulnerable post, boom, and then you get truth sometimes, right? I remember when social media launched, I said this was in what 2008, 2009. I said that here's what was going to happen with social media. You were either going to be exactly who you are, or you were going to be exactly who you wish you were on social media.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I was prophetic or not, but I believe it's kind of went that way a little bit.
Yeah, I think most people want us to believe that's who they are. It's what they want us to see. And so crazy, an entire generation and a generation coming behind them who have a personal brand. Like, I didn't have a personal brand, man. I was trying to figure out my life.
Right.
Like I got,
I'm still trying to do that.
yeah, I mean,
And I think the significance of this breastplate also, to think about it, Paul and the people that he's writing to and the people that originally are reading this, you have to understand that the entirety of the human experience in their mind came from the heart. So all of your emotions, all of your and even your intelligence, like your wisdom, your discernment, all of those things, they considered the heart to be the center of the human experience. And so a breastplate makes sure that your heart doesn't get punctured, that your heart doesn't get wounded. It was to protect vital organs. And so when you think about that, the righteousness of God, the right standing, that's all that is. It's a relational term. It's not anything. It's a relational term that to protect your heart. When these young parents watch these other parents, they're in Disney World 5 times a year and they are just struggling to pay bills and they go, "Man, what am I doing wrong that I can't do this with my kids?" And I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 hold on. Number 1, you don't again, behind the scenes to highlight, you don't know. They
You
may
don't
be in
know that they're
$100,000 in debt."
$160,000 in debt and fighting every night over it.
Right, exactly, but it's fun with the Mickey ears on for a day, right? It's just
Yeah.
and so to protect your heart, you put on that breastplate of righteousness, and that right standing with God says to you, I can rest in who God's called me to be, in the season that He's called me to be in the circumstances that I'm in. Um, and that's just how I've always viewed that particular part is that it's just protecting your heart because from it the wellspring of life is what the Old Testament
Mm.
says. So
Yeah, and then similarly, he talks about salvation as a helmet. There were 2 things they knew you had to protect. Like, get it. You
yep,
hit someone, you puncture their heart, they die. You take out their head. I don't know if they had a concept of brain or whatever. But they knew you damage the
they knew it
head,
was lethal.
you kill someone. So, like salvation, you're like, what do you mean helmet of salvation? Um, is a mind thing. It's who you are. Like, uh, helping people understand their identity, how God sees them, is very, very hard.
Yeah. Yes.
Because our brain, the helmet that we put on every day, is a helmet of what we have accomplished or want to accomplish or put it out there to make people think we have accomplished. Um, it's a mind game. And salvation, one of the components is you're God's child, redeemed,
Yeah.
restored. You are okay. The prodigal son comes home. This son of mine, he was dead, now he's alive. Let's throw a party. You are
Mhm.
loved, you are cared for, you are a son or a daughter of God, of the Most High. And that is what he's talking about when he says put on his helmet. He's trying to say, put on the identity of who you are, because everything around you is going to try to strip that away and make you believe that you are something else. Because if you can put your identity in something else, the enemy can take that away, and now you don't know who you are.
Yep, and that is so dangerous for all of us. Like, when you continue to think of what you do rather than who you are, you're in a dangerous place. Like, anything can happen at that point,
Yeah, so if
and
if I share part of my story here, um, when I was in my late 30s, um, just a number of things happened. I won't get into all the details of that, but we had planted a church in Atlanta, and it was wildly successful, and then from the inside, there was a betrayal on the inside, and it just got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, to the point that I just resigned and I gave up my dream. My point isn't all of that. What I had to learn around age 39, and to be honest, it took me into my early 40s, 42 at least, so 3 or 4 years. I spent 3 or 4 years not knowing who I was
Mhm.
because my identity was built on I wasn't just a pastor. I was the pastor of this different kind of church that was growing, and that, when I was out in public and everybody would see me, and, there was a bit of small, very, very small, but notoriety, and you feel good. And you're like, man, and this was the problem because I really didn't get into the whole God built, but I had built this great thing, and here I am in my 30s, and I had a little bit of arrogance in me because I'd look around at all these other pastors that I thought were old. They're the age I am now, and they pastor these tiny little churches, and they haven't done anything. But look what we have built. Look what I have built, and then it was gone,
Mhm.
and I didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
I spent, um, gosh, a lot of period of time sitting around a fire and just questioning everything. My favorite song at the time was a country song. The lyrics: "God is good, beer is great, people are crazy." Like, that is that is where I live because I like God. I thought people were good, and I thought you were good, and I'm not sure if you're good, but I know people are crazy, and I don't know who I am anymore. And I had to go work, a different job. And to be honest, the job that I first started with was not a good job. I called it the suck. Um, you know, so every morning I'd tell my wife getting up like, "Hey, babe, love you. I got to go to the suck."
Mhm.
It's not just the job sucked; it sucked everything out of me. I
Right.
went from being the person in charge to everybody thinks I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm just a lackey. It was horrible. God turned that around, and then was able to be a part of creating something that was amazing, the business and great experience and all of that. But what I want to say is, at the time, the helmet that I had on was not one of who I was in Christ. So I was lost and susceptible to all kinds of attacks of the enemy who would come in and say, "You know what? I'm going to define who you are. You know who you are? You're a failure. That's who you are." And I lived with that. I'm like, "Yep, you know what?
Mhm.
I am a failure." And you believe a lie and start living from a lie, it might as well be true, even if it's not, because you're
Yeah.
you're living as if it's true. It wasn't until, much later, I had to break all of those lies and break some agreements that were there. I guess we can get into talking some of that, but that's where, without spending, forever on the podcast, the helmet of this idea of salvation, identity, who you are in Christ. We spent that whole series in Romans talking about who you are, where you came from, and who you are, and renewing your mind and how valuable you are. The older I get, the more important I think I understand helping other people understand that. Because if you can
Yeah.
grasp who you are, the enemy can throw all kinds of things at you. He can
Yep.
throw all kinds of things at your head. Yeah, I got a helmet on, whatever.
Mhm.
I played
Right.
catcher. Your son plays catcher in baseball. I played catcher. The reason you can sit behind the plate and someone can throw a ball straight at you and someone can swing at it and foul it off and hit you in the head, the reason you don't worry about it, got a helmet on.
Yep.
You played football, I guess there's some measure.
Yeah, there's some flaws to that. There's some flaws to that.
Yeah.
Um,
So the
my
illustration breaks
17
down there.
concussions would say, there's a flaw to that.
Right. But the idea, you put this helmet on, you put God's helmet on, the helmet of salvation, and then you begin to know it's about who I am, what God says about me, not about what I accomplish. Now, I can accomplish anything with God, but that's not my identity. It's not in what I've done.
Right.
It's in who I am. So, but
Yep. And
those
we've
two things
said
kind of
throughout
link.
this series, we've said this throughout the series that, you know, realizing who you are and whose you are, like you're a child of the king. You have the full rights and privileges of being a child of the king. And we just sometimes we trade our birthright for whatever is quickest and easiest in the moment. I love what John Ortberg once said, that sin is meeting a legitimate need in an illegitimate way.
Oh,
And that kind of definition has stuck with me because it's like okay, I really do want to be significant. And so that's a natural human desire, is to be significant, to have purpose, whatever. But if you go about it in ways that are destructive and not healthy or take advantage of other people or whatever, then that's sin. Like you have this legitimate need, but you're meeting it in an illegitimate way. Like I want to be loved, and so in order to be loved, I will say these things, do these things, and they may be out of my character to do those, but I'll do them because this innate desire, like this desire I have is to be loved. And so you trade it. You take a legitimate need that you have and you fill it with an illegitimate way to fill it. And the truth, when you talk about the helmet of truth, that's a way to remind us of, wait a minute, that's an illegitimate way. This is a legitimate way. I know I'm loved because God says he loves me and I trust him and I believe what he says is true. I believe that I am, I have purpose and that I'm important. That I'm an important human being and that I matter. Well, why? Because God says I do. He sent his son to die for my life. So why would I not be important? So it's those daily reminders of being able to say, and look, I'm a huge proponent of what I call sticky note theology. Like if you need to write "I'm a child of God" and on a sticky note and then put it, on your dashboard of your car when you're driving to work every day so you see that and read that, or you put "I'm forgiven" on your bathroom mirror on a sticky note or whatever so that you see it every single day, you're loved, like, write that somewhere and read it every whatever you're putting into your mind, that's what's swimming around in there, and so put truth in, put and that's where prayer and Bible study and that's where those things come in. I think people think, "Oh, yeah, preacher people just always say you gotta pray and read your Bible." No, no, listen, that literally is warfare. Like, those are weapons that you've been given to do damage in the heavenlies that are trying to do damage to you, period. Like, they are coming for you. Don't even think that you some shape, form, or fashion that the enemy doesn't have any plan to kill, steal, kill, and destroy you, because he does. Every
Yeah.
single person.
And, Paul speaking about be transformed. Okay. But how am I transformed? God? By renewing your mind. The mind is powerful. And what you put into your mind, okay, it's not just books you read or TV shows you see. That's part of it. Your thoughts are in it. There's tons of things that go into your mind. It's your mind that you act out of.
Yep.
And so if you have a wrong way of thinking, you need to repent in the truest sense of the term. Repent is acknowledging I'm going in a wrong direction and turning around and going in a different direction. And so that's what we're talking about. So, getting practical, always feeling like a failure. That is something that I have, struggled with. And then the thing happened with the church and that added to it. And a couple other things happened in my life and that adds to it. I had to reprogram my mind through prayer, by the way, to say that's not true. Have some things not worked out in my life? Yes, that is true. But that does not mean I am a failure. We've all failed, right? But that does not make me a failure. So in renewing that mind, well, now I can see things differently. Because honestly, the law of attraction works.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if let me get on the camera here. If this side of the magnet is negative, I'm a failure, and that's the way that my mind works. Guess what it attracts? Clink.
Yep.
Failure things, man. Just boom, boom, boom. Like the law of attraction is a true law, and
Yep.
God knows that as well. So let's renew that mind. And when you begin to think positively, when you begin to think correctly, more importantly than positively, when you begin to think correctly about who you are, then you will attract those things.
Yeah.
This is,
It 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 seems that we forget as humans we forget. I'm sure that the enemy, I'm sure that the evil in the unseen realm, I'm sure that they know what the Bible says. Like I'm pretty sure that
More
they're
than we
up to
do.
date.
Yeah.
They know what it's telling us. And so again, it sets up its outposts. Our mission is to steal, kill, and destroy. And here's how we do it. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, yeah, see that. Boom, 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 boom. And God knows that. And so the writers of the scriptures, they were all in this understanding of that's how the world is working, right? Like that's how the world works. And whether we can see it or not, a pastor that I used to serve with, he would always say that the spirit world is the real world. And again, the older I get, and maybe even the more I screw up and don't do the right things, the more I understand that to be true. Is that the spirit world is real and it's really moving, it's really active, it's always doing something to steal, kill, and destroy. At the same time, there's always the spirit world, the heaven's armies are fighting for you.
Yeah.
God says, that he will rescue. So yeah, it's this balance of knowing truth, being reminded of truth, understanding truth, standing in truth. Um, and again, I think it can be as simple as just sticky note theology. Like, I'm not just talking send positive vibes my way. Like that's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that self talk and what we say to ourselves, especially, whether it's out loud or just internally, is extraordinarily powerful and
Yes,
can
because
totally
it's
change the
words.
way.
God creates things
Yes.
with words. And
Yes.
it is with our words that we either reinforce something or we tear it down.
Yep.
And words, that whole words will never hurt me. Like that nursery rhyme
That's
probably
false.
comes from hell. Like words are powerful,
Yep.
not just in hurting you or others, in how your mind works and how you go about things. Like to what
Yep.
you said, yeah.
Absolutely.
If you think it and say it, um, in a negative sense, well, you're going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. We have that in our colloquialism because it's true. You can
Yep.
also say and think things, and again, the law of attraction begins to come in. And then when you put on that, the spiritual laws that we know how God wants to bring goodness in your life and these kinds of things, thinking, that's why Paul says, whatever is good and noble, think on these things.
Yep.
Why, Paul?
Philippians 4:8.
Because it will attract other good and noble things.
Yep.
It's, you know,
It is. We
that's why
gotta
Paul
and
says
listen,
it.
I'm as bad as any like, I'm certainly not on this podcast saying that I've got all this figured out because, as we began the discussion, like, the last 2.5 years of my life have been literal hell, specifically in the realm of identity, specifically in the realm of failure and success, specifically in the realm of, like, because and this is a whole 'nother thing, we won't go into it, but you know that my head injury that I had in 2020 has, like, literally, I am a different human being, cognitively because of that, and so, those things are I'm not speaking from a point of view of victory necessarily on all these things. I'm telling you from somebody who's in the battle, literally, I'm out on the battleground right now because every single day the enemy's telling me that I'm a failure or that I'm not good enough or, and like you, like I served huge churches, thousands and thousands of people. And, it was, to be known by people. People call you and ask you questions. They ask you to do their weddings and funerals and come bless their baby at the hospital, which I have no power to do, but I would go pray over the baby, um, and people confided in you. People look to you for wisdom. And then the day you don't sit in that seat anymore, that phone stops ringing. And all of a sudden you're left with like, uh, who do I count now? Am I important? Am I? And I think that happened. This isn't just a this isn't just pastoral stuff. This happens to someone who's been working a 9 to 5 job for 10 years, and the company walks in and goes, "We're going a different direction. Bye." And then you think to yourself, "But I've put in so much time here. I've helped on these projects. Look at the progress we've done." And they're just like, and by the way, whether you're in a church or you're in an office building, you die today, there is a want ad on Indeed for your position tomorrow. They don't care.
Yep. Yep.
But at home,
Yeah.
those people at home, and that's the biggest thing, particularly when it comes to, again, we mentioned it with our kids men stuff, but mom and dad, if you're the person showing your kids putting on your armor, helping them, do you help your kids get ready when they're little? Yeah, they don't know how to match. They don't know how to put stuff on. They don't. And so right now is the time, parents, that you need to be putting armor on and then showing your kids, because again, at the end of the day, no matter what happens, no matter how successful you are, it's home team that matters more than anything. And that is where battleground has been lost a lot in our culture over these last, particularly 15 years, because moms and dads and families have gotten busy. We've gotten non-communal, right? We just sit by ourselves. We're 3 times the amount of time on the toilet rather than sitting in conversations. We're in the same room, but all on a phone. We're at the dinner table and all on a phone. If you're even at the dinner table, very few people are at a dinner table, my family included. We're guilty of that too. And so there's things like that we can model and we can put in place in the context of this armor, that not only becomes kind of our battle plan or our saving grace today, but then it becomes legacy. It becomes generational, because we've taught our kids, hey, these battles are going to happen. Your life is going to have difficulties. Here's how you manage them. Here's how you navigate them. Here's how you walk through them. So, yeah, and it's not easy. Again, this is not something that you just throw out there and go, yeah, it's simple, just go do it. No, it's a struggle every day to do it.
Yeah, and so let's there's two things I want to get to before we wrap up this podcast. One, we're talking about putting on God's armor, and I love how you bring it into parents and what we're doing with our children, because we got to play an active role. Because as I said on Sunday, if you are not putting on what the armor God gives you to put on, culture is going to give you some clothes to wear. And your
That's right.
kids, if you don't do it any differently, your children, your grandchildren are going to be handed a set of clothes. And their choice is either be naked or put these things on. And you say, well, what is that? Well, I think number one in our culture right now, outrage. You'd be hard pressed to convince me that there is not some sort of spiritual force behind the level of outrage being created in our culture.
Mhm.
Everybody, there's all kinds of words you can put in that. Anger, you can throw anger in there. Offended, you can throw offense in there.
Division.
Yeah, throw them all in that category. And in our culture, that's working because anger and outrage sells. You say, what do you mean it sells? It gets attention, and attention is the current economy. If something can have your attention, they can sell an advertising dollar to it. And so because it makes money, and I think all of this is how evil works, because it does that, and we react, and then we comment and we share, like you're going to let 47 posts go by, and then boom, now you're going to, like that's what they're after, because you keep coming back, coming back, coming back. Culture is going to hand you outrage. Culture is going to hand your children, your grandchildren, they're going to hand them outrage. And you go, no, we don't put on outrage. We put on, whatever, pick your piece of armor, but we clothe ourselves in the fruit of the Spirit as well. Like we don't go there. And it's up to you as parents to do that. The other one that I see that's huge in culture, especially as the generations get younger, happening a lot at both extremes. So the extreme elderly and the younger adults, isolation.
Mhm.
and our kids are around kids all day long, but they're around them, but they're stuck in their phone.
Yep.
And they isolate sometimes on purpose, and they'll blame things like, well, I'm just an introvert, therefore I don't know if you're an introvert or not. You know, it has nothing to do with being around people. It's where you draw your energy from. Partly you've been fed a lot like, well, people scare me. People scare extroverts too. It's where you get your energy from. It has nothing to do with any of those things. But isolation's a goal, confusion, deception. These are all things that are items of clothing that are being handed. And we have to make a conscious choice to say, no, no, I'm not putting those on. I'm going to put on truth. I'm going to put on God's righteousness and understand my right standing with God. I'm going to put on this helmet of salvation. I'm going to have a shield that protects me. What is that shield? Faith. It's the thing that I put out there that God, no matter what, God is on my side. God is fighting for me. There is something going on that anything you have, boom, I'm just going to put my shield up. I'm going to let all of that hit those things. Like on and on and on it goes. You kind of have some choices. And before we get, I know I shared this when we talked last week. I shared it 2 weeks ago. I kind of want to go there one more time. And we probably go here again next week, but we created some prayers. Pop over to here. And on this webpage, we created, these are prayers that we pray. And so you can get there, you go to next steps, click on this link. And as we get new prayers, we put them on here and we add them. As you click any one of these, you're going to get a description. So this is one that Jody and I, we pray quite regularly. That's why it's called the daily prayer. We got this from John Eldridge and the folks at Wild at Heart. So there's a daily prayer. There's a longer version of it. If you're having night terrors and things like your anxiety, some of the stuff we were talking about, your anxiety is just going through the roof. You can click on this prayer. Let's just click over there for a second. This one kind of gives you some instructions. Pray it slowly before bed. You can wake up in the middle of the night. You got some things going on. Pray this prayer. Again, prayers begin here. You just walk through these prayers. They're not spells. Don't treat them like spells. You say these words and actions happen. These are coming from your heart. It's going to remind you of what is true. All right. So right away, Jesus, you are my refuge. You're my rest. You're my peace. Everything that's happened today, the good, the hard, the things I don't understand, I bring it under your rule now. Okay. So now we acknowledge what is true. And now we're acknowledging the authority that Christ has. All right. So I won't walk through that whole prayer. All of these prayers are designed in a way like that. So you can just, pray those that are there. There's one for your family. Where did I get to? Yeah, this is the one I want to pull out. So this one, if you're struggling with like some anxiety and things are just, you feel like are being robbed from you, this one here, prayer for life and renewal. I pray this as just a reminder all of the time, right? If you just look at the headings, of each of these parts, Jesus, you're the source of life. You came that we would have life. I'm reminding myself any time that the enemy is taken away, your life, right? I give you everything that is in me. I thank you that life comes from you. On and on it goes. Fill me, right? Restore what's been lost. Rebuild what's been torn down. Unite my life with yours. These things are powerful. These are your tools to fight. And I think that's the important thing I want you to understand when we are talking about this. You can fight. You don't have to just sit and take it. You can fight what is going on. And I learned this far too late in life. I was 41, 42 years old when I learned, oh, you can fight back the enemy through prayer.
Mhm.
So I want you to know this at whatever age you are. If you're learning it at 70, hey, you've got it now. If you're learning it and you're 25 years old, bravo. I wish I would have. It would have made the next 15 years of my life a lot more tolerable. Because sometimes, Christian, I don't know if you get into this. I know I did. Sometimes you can just start to believe life sucks and you just have to take it. And we have lots of phrases in our culture that says that, life sucks and then you die. Well, you just have to take it. Life's hard. It is true. Life is hard, but we say it in a tone like there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah. Life's hard. You can do something about it. And when I say you, the Spirit of God living in you can do something about it. So I think,
Absolutely.
as we wrap up today's podcast and kind of getting close to wrapping up the whole series, the Spirit of God living in you can do something about it. And I want you to know that. So
Absolutely.
Well, thanks, Christian. Thanks for hanging with us.
Yeah, it was awesome. I love this.
Yeah, I do too. And, I love being able to just kind of bounce ideas back and forth. I know you got a lot going on today, so thanks for taking out your time. Spend a little time
Absolutely.
with us. Hey, guys, and you sat here with us for an hour now. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'd love to see you this Sunday. We're going to wrap up the series this weekend, and we'll be on to our next series where we're going to be talking about this idea in 2 weeks. So one more this week. In 2 weeks, this idea of there's a lot going on in the world. I'm going to be grateful anyway. And I think that's going to be a great topic. Hey, praying for you guys to be there on Sunday to worship. As we have said over and over, you can watch a podcast, you can watch a sermon. It's a whole other level to worship with other believers. And if you want to know why we gather together, that is one of the main components. One, fellowshipping, seeing people's, how you doing, praying with each other. But there's something powerful, and if you were there Sunday, you experienced it when you worship God together. So I'd love for you to be there. Thanks, bro. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we will see all of you guys on Sunday. Love y'all. Later.